Good morning. Thank you very much again for joining us today in your meetings, your forum. We would, as usual, give you a couple of updates, and then we would have, I assume, plenty of time for questions and answers for us all to learn from each other. So on the very, very positive update, the volume of the award that our fabulous researchers received during the fiscal year, which we just ended, was again another record. You remember that last year we had a record, the year before we had a record, and now again we have another record. Last year we were at 941 million. This past year, we reached 968 million, which is 27 million more than last year. So again, another record, especially given that there were some assumptions that during the problems with COVID and so on and so forth, the volume of awards might be lower. But as members of all of your offices and our office can attest, our work has not decreased, and it has, if not have increased, it definitely has not decreased. So the volume of work definitely has been more, and now we see that the volume of awards was much more too. So we are very close to 1 billion. So we'll see what happens next year. And already this year, I mean, we started already higher than last year this time. So so that's very good news, and thank you all of you, as well as members of our team, being a part of this whole progress. So that's one positive update. We have another positive update, and that has to do with, remember that we talk about the indirect, and you know that the indirect has increased. Our new federally negotiated indirect cost rate became effective on June 28, 2021. And from that date, we said that the way that generally it works under the federal regulations, the sponsors might not, and in most cases do not, provide additional funds to cover the indirect, the increase in indirect. But under the same federal regulations, university is entitled to recover full indirect, and that's how it has always been. So usually in these transitions, some awards get affected, and that's a part of how these awards work. So effectively, the indirect, because the indirect cost has to go up, the direct typically gets affected and goes down. Leadership of the campus this year have been working on trying to mitigate those increases to some extent. Obviously, they cannot say that we are not recovering full indirect. That is right now in effect. But sometimes they grandfather some awards. So that's what they did this year too. I'll explain to you how it works, and I want you to also work with your PIs for situations that I would tell you that there's no way out. The higher indirect would attach. So first, let's talk about the part the leadership of the campus has provided some sort of grandfathering, and this is how it works. For any award that is based on proposal which was submitted before 6/28/2001, which obviously used the provisional rate. If certain conditions are met, the leadership of the campus has agreed that they would honor the provisional rate and they would not recover full indirect. The conditions to be met are as follows. The award should receive the university before the end of this year, before December 31st. And also the project should have start date before the end of this year. So 2 days to consider, or actually 3 days. The first date is obviously proposal was submitted before, and we didn't know that there was going to be increase in indirect. We didn't have the numbers. Provisional rate was used, and award comes in before the end of the year, and the start date of the award is before the end of the year. If all of those conditions are met, and from here, from our office, we can verify that the sponsor is not willing to give us more money, the leadership of the campus, with the help of planning and budget and the provost, have agreed that the life of that award, for the life of it, it would have the indirect cost, which is what we had in the proposal. So that's the good news. The part that I said that I need your help to work with your PIs is for the following situation. Just think about, again, the same type of thing that we send the award with the provisional, the proposal out with provisional rate, but the award comes in after the end of this year. For example, if we receive an award January 1st, January 2nd, sometime after that, and it is based on the proposal which went out with the provisional rate, the PI has to work with us. We need a new budget with the new indirect.
It looks like you muted yourself.
So I don't know what happened. By itself, it happened. So anyway, the help we all need from our colleagues in the departments. Unfortunately, not very many PIs are, online right now. I don't see a whole lot of them. I see some, but you have to work with your PIs. You have to look at the list of proposals you have submitted with the indirect costs of which is lower than the current indirect. You have to work with your PIs. You have to come to us. We would try to help to see if the sponsor. Actually, if the award is not issued, we should send them a new budget with the proper current F&A rate. So again, when the award comes in beginning of the year, the new indirect would attach. James, do you have anything more to add to that, please?
I don't have anything to add to that. I know that these have been coming through, and we're getting them set up in the accounting system, so they will be held at the the prior rates as those notifications are coming to us.
Thank you very much. I didn't mention that James was instrumental in working with Mike Legrand and going through, up the chain of planning and budget, and that allowed the process to go forward. And that's how that the part about grandfathering to the end of the year came down with the permission of planning and budget and provost and all leadership of the campus. So thank you, James, for that. So, and as James said, for the awards that are subject to that grandfathering, members of sponsored programs know how to handle it. There is a notation which goes with the award when we release the award. So James and his team, they know which awards are subject to grandfathering, and they are taken care of from there. So any questions on that? I see some chats, but it would be nice if we can hear the questions, but I don't see the chats all the time. But anyway, maybe Perry, do you want to look at them?
Yeah, one question in the chat is, have you seen the NIH agree to a higher budget with revised indirects at a JIT?
I don't know if I have any examples recently, but we have gone through this. The change during the time I have been here many times, 5, 6 times. So in the past, there is no, one rule they follow. Sometimes they do allow higher indirect, sometimes they don't. But especially for what I am telling you, for awards that they are going to come in after January 1st, and they are not issued, we have to send them revised budget and they would consider that. So basically, really, I have to tell you, it depends on the situation, and I don't think there is a general rule. There are some general rules that NSF is following. Unfortunately, there is a provision in one of their documents which they point to, and it's not always applicable, but they are using it more and more. They are saying that they won't give extra money to basically pay for additional indirect. That's NSF. NIH doesn't have such a rule. And I suppose even NSF, depending on who is looking at the documents, we might hear different answers. So the answer to your question, it really depends, and we should try. And if we can't get it, just again, for the awards that come in starting from January 1st on, the PIs have to know that there is no way out. It's just the direct has to be reduced.
Another question in the chat is, so just to clarify, awards that are subject to grandfathered, we do not have to send in a new budget?
That is correct. Again, if those conditions are met, that is, the award is here before the end of the year, and the start date is before the end of the year, we are going to look at it to see if there is a chance that we would be able to get higher indirect, and members of sponsor programs would contact you. But in most cases, especially, I know that for NSF, they are not going to give us any money. So if we are talking about NSF, the answer is, well, it's just waste of time to come up with the new budget. For other ones, we might have to work with you. We might have to come to you and see what we can do to get more money. So it really depends on the sponsor too. If we have proposals out to the corporations, all bets are off. They have to pay us full indirect. And frankly, I am not sure if the grandfathering that they gave us should apply to that, because working with private sector, as is, university is subsidizing a whole lot anyway. We should really be recovering full indirect. Any other questions, Perry?
Well, there's some comments, but no other questions.
Okay, thank you. So if there's no other questions, maybe we can go to our schedule. Again, there's not a whole lot of updates, but from proposal side, Kelly, do you want to talk about the updates from your area, please?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. I just have one update for you this morning, and that's, we get a lot of questions about the application of on versus off-campus rates, and wanted to let everybody know about a really great resource we just came across. On the Costing Policy and Analysis website, there is a page that describes the appropriate application of on-campus and off-campus F&A rates. And I'm going to post that link to the webpage, or to our chat box rather, just so that you guys will have it for reference. The site also includes a list from 2016, so it may not be current, but a link to the buildings that are leased at this time. So we put that in there for you guys right now.
Thank you, Kelly. And again, there are always confusions. What's the meaning of on-campus versus off-campus? As you all know, that issue has nothing to do with proximity to the campus. There might be a building, just in downtown Davis, which is off-campus, but there are buildings in Southern California which are on campus. So proximity is not an issue, or in that determination. It's just any building, generally speaking, any building which is either owned by university or leased by university is on campus. And then there are some rules regarding leased buildings, which you all know. If the project has a line item for correct and appropriate amount of lease cost in a lease building, then the project will be subject to off-campus rate, but the lease cost has to be appropriate. I have had situations that project of 400,000 or 500,000 with 6 people on it. They show in a lease building, they show lease of $600 a year. Somehow it doesn't make sense. So it has to be really proper lease cost to make it subject to off-campus rate. So we work with you on all of that, but university again has to recover its cost of infrastructure. Anything else, Kelly?
That's all I have, unless anybody has any questions pertaining to proposals.
Okay. Grace, anything on the award side?
I just wanted to follow up on what Ahmed said about the federal awards and escalated rates. I know we have been holding some of the awards pending campus guidance. So now that we have it, we should be releasing all of the awards that we had been holding. And if you notice anything in your queue that should have been processed, please let us know. But the awards we've received up to now, we have enough guidance to go forward on. So we should not be holding your awards anymore. So you don't have to do, and yeah, we were not processing advance accounts for those either because we didn't know how to set up the awards. So you don't need to talk to us about setting up advance accounts for those. We should be able to process them and going forward.
Okay. Thank you, Grace. James, anything from accounting side?
I do have a couple things from our side. First up is just to let everybody know that we just posted a research administrator 3 position, one of our fund manager positions. So if any of you are interested in coming to work for CGA, please go check that out. What I really want to do though is share my screen and there, share. Just wanted to walk through a new process that we're doing. I sent an email about a month ago on this topic, but there are still a few questions coming in, so I thought we'd just go through it, and then if folks still have questions, we can try to clarify those here. A little while back, Audit and Management Advisory Services did a review of subrecipient monitoring and looked at all kinds of things around subrecipient activity. One thing that they identified as a weakness is they were finding that not all of the awards coming, or all of the invoices coming in from our subrecipients were including this certification that is required by the uniform guidance. To put the whole thing up there, that's what UGG says needs to be on our invoices. I think maybe their sample population was a little bit skewed because it seemed like they were zeroed in a lot on foreign entities because there's a lot of risk around foreign subrecipients. So, but be that as it may, they asked CGA, and CGA agreed to a corrective action for trying to ensure that we do have this certification on the invoices before we pay them. So again, this is where we are the prime recipient of a federal award that's subject to uniform guidance, and we have subawarded some of that down to another institution or entity. Basically, August, we were really just trying to notify and get the word out. And I know that many of you that contacted me, were able to get invoices that were missing the certification to get that addressed for the future. Starting in a week or so on September 1st, CGA, when we're reviewing the invoices, we will follow up directly with you if we don't see that certification. And just to make sure that you understand that is going to be required, so that you can then contact the sub and say, hey, you need to get this required. I keep saying the word required because it's not optional, certification on the invoices. We're not going to blow those out of the water in September, though. We're going to go ahead and let them go through. But starting October 1st, this is going to be our hard stop date. We are going to disapprove any invoices that don't have that certification. So you've got, got most of August to work on that. We will be helping you identify anything that's still slipping through the cracks in September. But in October, we're just going to stop them. And then you'll have to go back to the sponsor, or not the sponsor, to the sub and say, hey, if you want to get paid, you actually need to put this on your invoice. This is a certification by the sub awardee. This has nothing to do with our UC Davis PI certifying anything. Our PI is signing off on approving the invoice itself, but it's separate from what this is talking about. Just so you know, our invoices that go out, here's a snap of the bottom of one of our invoices that shows the total. But this is what's on our invoices that are going out. We put this on our invoices, shortly after uniform guidance came out and the direction was there. All of our sister campuses have this certification on their invoices. Most of the the big institutions are already doing this, if not all, probably all. But it's just kind of, I guess, a little bit of a cleanup phase and education phase for those people that aren't doing this. So that is what we're doing. And now I'm going to look and see if we have any questions coming in, or if someone wants to tell me what a question is, or open up your mic and talk and just have a lovely conversation.
I have a question. This is Alyssa Henry. Hi, good morning. I have seen some invoices that have what looks like an actual, hard signature. And I've seen ones that, just have more of like a typed signature. Is there any guidance about that?
I do not believe there is guidance about that.
Okay.
I think anything that indicates that, somebody is blessing the invoice from the sub side, we would be okay.
That'd be fine. Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions for James? Well, James, maybe you want to stop sharing screen.
I will stop.
Okay. I don't see any other questions in the chat either. Well,
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Seda. Just a quick question for James. Any updates on the effort reporting?
Oh my gosh. Yes, thank you. That was the other. I got so absorbed in this certification thing. It's close. Last research forum, I said I was pretty sure we were going to get them out to everybody this month. I'm not as confident that we're going to make it in the next week to get them out. The reports have all been, the good news is the reports have all been generated. The data has largely been reviewed, and it looks like the reports themselves are good. The hitch now that we've run into is there's something wrong with the coding that's not allowing, the PIs. It's not linking up the PIs with the right access to be able to go in and work on the reports. So the programmers over at UCOP have been just working like crazy to try and figure this out. And I know that they keep, making changes and trying to get it fixed. So that's a long way of saying It's still just around the corner, but and I knew better than to say anything having to do with a given date, accomplishment date. But soon. The other fun part of this is going to be, as we're already getting close to the end of our next effort reporting cycle, which ends on September 30th, that means we're going to be turning around another batch of them there just within the next few months as well. Did that more than answer your question?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions? Anything anybody wants to share from any of the offices, campus, different departments, or anywhere? Well, if not, this is going to be a very short meeting again. Perry, I think we are done. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care and have a good